Well, it's early 2014, and that makes it the perfect time to start planning your finances for this year. I'm Rob Friedman with REALTOR Magazine, and I'm with Victoria Gillespie of Realtors Federal Credit Union, a division of Northwest Federal Credit Union, and she's going to walk through some ideas for you to take back on how you can do your financial planning for 2014.
So the first thing I thought we should talk about when people ask me, how do I build my plan for the new year? Front and foremost, I would say have a great handle on your expenses. Where are you spending? What are you spending each month? And can you clearly look at a summary that says I'm spending X amount on marketing, X amount on client recognition, meals and expenses. Break those down so that you know in a given month what an average expense is in each and every category.
But are there certain expenses that you really want to watch because they have a great return on return on investment, or are there some that are not so great?
So the first thing that we ask for is look at your expenses and determine which expenses actually led and correlated to business transactions and commissions earned. If you know, for example, that purchasing a lead zip code, there are lead sources where you buy leads off the internet in a certain zip code. Perhaps you had 3 transactions last year from that source. Clearly, you can tell directly that that was a wise investment. All of them are not as clear. For example, there are intangibles like your marketing expenses. Many times we find that when a realtor is in a hard time or a slow time, they immediately want to cut out their marketing dollars. But if you think about the vicious cycle of that, they most need to be marketing, and that's when they're spending the least on marketing. So marketing, tax allocation, and paying yourself first in savings, building that reserve fund, those are 3 expense categories that really should be in every single person's plan. And then a 4th one, I would say, is education and reinvesting in yourself, whether it's through Realtor University, whether it's a designation, but how are you honing your skills?
What is one expense that you might cut down on when you're having a slow month?
Yes, I mean, again, they're specific to each person's real estate practice, but they say if you take a 30-day period and you truly tracked everything that you spent on throughout the month, that you would be shocked at the trivial things that you spent money on. They call one the latte factor, and we've heard that one time and time again, that if you aggregate what you spend on a latte or a tea or a mocha, what that adds up to on an annual expense. I also read an article where a gentleman always made sure, because if you know realtors, we value our vehicles because that's our transportation. He will only buy light color cars because he can cut down on something like 60% of his car washes that he feels he can hide, versus if, like, for example, I have a black vehicle, every time I get in the car to take my client out, I feel that I'd need to wash my vehicle. So there are things such as that you can get creative on, and that would thereby cut down your car washing, which you don't think of as a big item. Another is, for women and men, is if they looked at wardrobe items that do not require only dry cleaning. These things seem like very simple things, but when you summarize them for a year, they're truly options. You certainly can't go without your cell phone, but you might be able to look at a more comprehensive unlimited plan or something like that. So there are some items that we could look at.
So you're sitting down, you're getting ready to do your financial planning for the year, and so you start off by tracking your expenses, like you said, but also, do you need to sort of anticipate what you need to earn in order to, to be able to do all the things that you need to do?
You do. I start with expenses first because that's the reality. That's your mortgage payment, your office lease, your car. So once you summarize your expenses, now remember, we want to include savings for taxes, savings to pay yourself in retirement. So you have a number that you must earn that year to carry your expenses. And then normally you forecast a number that you would love to earn to be comfortable, okay? You then take that income number that you know that you need for the new year, and you say, how am I going to get enough income to pay for all those expenses? What I suggest is that you look over the past 2 to 3 years and you look at all your transaction volume, okay? And you total up what income you made and you divide it by the number of transactions that you did in those periods. And you've then come up with an average transaction income. It's so that you don't have to figure out for each transaction if you earned a little different, okay? That you then use to back into how many transactions do I need this year to generate the revenue that's going to cover my expenses. So that's how you do your goal setting with number of transactions needed. You can even take that further, and that's not for this session. You can even take it further and decide what are your closing ratios on appointments to determine how many people do you need to meet with in order to be sure that you close a transaction. So you can really break it down systematically into really it's a pretty basic mathematical equation if you look at it analytically.